Good evening, ladies and gentlemen out there in YouTube land. I am Deleted Scenes, human being, American, and YouTube Ronin. And I would like to welcome you to this episode of Live from Sparkwood in 21. This series chronicles the cult classic television series Twin Peaks, created by David Lynch and Mark Frost. Tonight, we are going to be listening to and discussing the third and final part of the Final Dossier by Mark Frost. Joining me on this odyssey are superfans Last Caller Troy Pacelli.
Hello.
Netters Network.
Bonjour, comment ça va?
And Aged Boomer.
Why wasn't there ever a Twin Peaks Christmas special?
I want to say that when Kyle MacLachlan was on when he hosted Saturday Night Live, I want to say there was some Christmas elements in that. I think it's a fuzzy memory. I'm not sure.
Well, maybe we need to take that episode out and watch it.
Well, if not on the CDs, the Blu-rays, and probably you could find it on YouTube somewhere. They did the 12 Days of Christmas, the Twin Peaks cast back when they were doing the show, did a version of the 12 Days of Christmas in a Twin Peaks theme. So, there's that.
You know what we got to watch after this Final Dossier? Dual Spires.
Oh, we'll get Dual Spires in there somewhere. Absolutely. Yeah. Eventually, yeah.
All right. I do want to say hello to the chat. Qapla' to our resident Klingon, Mark Malikoff. This is the blood wine, and this is the barrel. Drink full and descend into Grethor. I still did not get that right. It was just so targets the white of the eyes and the dishonor within. I'm here first. Blah.
We will be covering that scene that you're referring to tonight for sure. We are revisiting that event. Yeah.
All right. I also want to say hello to Faithful Blue Wrench, channel member, the Bird Woman of YouTube. Watch out for her second channel, Fluff Chick Productions. It's Connie Cleary. Enigma Severus in the house. Channel member,
that's a warning.
JPRPH1. Tired Blogger Raid. Yes, sir. All right. Scrolling down, I want to see who else has joined us. Channel member, Space Fraggle. Yes, Mystery Movie Raid. Thank you. All right. Deleted user man. If he can't review it, then it must have sucked. Sadly, it did. Okay, scrolling down. The tired midnight blogger himself, Curtis Selby. Let's see. I don't want to miss anyone. Host of Films with Friends, on which I will be appearing this Friday. And the film will be The Thing from Another World, 1951.
Oh.
Creator of the 10-word review, Big Al Presents. Let's scroll down. Daniel Barry Sports Highlights. Good to see you, sir. Geek Flag with Nate Knows, 1973. FKHC 2005, sometimes known as Tim. All right. And I think we've gotten to everyone currently in the chat. All right, so we are concluding this evening the Final Dossier, written by co-showrunner Mark Frost, and this is going to be quite an interesting evening, because if you had some questions concerning to the ending of the return, well, we're going to be delving a little bit more into that ending and what it might mean. And let's just say that our agent Preston goes down quite a rabbit hole in the concluding chapters. So
yes, she does. It absolutely challenges her sensibilities. I also feel like there's a few spots, and I'll try to remember to point them out, where I feel like Mark Frost kind of lets the curtain dip a little bit, and we get to see a little bit of his head scratching with dealing with some of David Lynch's stuff too. I feel like he's like, yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on here either. In the voice of Tammy Preston.
All right. So I do want to remind everybody the Cosme link is at the top of the chat. Should be at the top of all of our chats. So please join us right now over on Cosme.
Really, you're going to kind of want to use that link because, I mean, it's the only way you can see the presentation that I put together.
If you worked really hard on that, so you want to see it.
Well, yes, that is true. I did. But more specifically, I mean, if you're watching in the future and you have a copy of the audio, what do you call it? The audio book of the Final Dossier, you certainly could use it. You certainly could sync it up with us. But yeah, you wouldn't be able to see the visual element that I'm presenting live here in Cosme. So that is always the benefit of watching our streams live, because then that live Cosme link, you can watch along with us. Some rabbit holes are better than others. That is true. That is true. So tonight we're going to see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Indeed. All right. So head on over to Cosme, and let's get started.
Yep.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hit it.
It helps if I actually join the room.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can't even hear it on your end if you don't. If you're not in Cosme.
Yeah, I'm going to have to refresh here. Oh. Okay.
Uncle Boomer, I think, is kind of getting ahead of me. He knows what we're going to be covering tonight. Yes. Yes, we will. He worked on a Stargate project. I honestly didn't realize that Doug Milford was part of the Blue Rose until this book. I don't know how I missed that. A lot of this story, actually the whole story, is entirely between season 2 and the return. I mean, this is not anything that's even hinted within the span of the show. This is the kind of thing that I would love to see them, even if they had to CG the characters, you know.
I saw that.
You like that?
Yes.
It's a little bit of a challenge putting that in there, but
Oh.
yeah.
Look up sad sack in the dictionary. That's his picture. That's the picture next to it.
Which picture did I miss?
Did the search for the zone was a real site.
Ugh.
Yeah. I do have to say that this narrative form really does help put all this in place. And some of the things that seem completely unrelated to anything start making sense. Like, the evidence is the evidence. Internal discussions only. Unfortunately, there are some stretches where I don't really have any visualization because it's pretty much just exposition that doesn't visualize easily. That's a recurring thing that she deals with. This idea that heroes had access to more information than they currently have now. Yeah. I like this. Hey, how do you pronounce it? Otisword? Welcome, welcome. Click on the Cosme link up at the top. We're doing a presentation of the Final Dossier, and we're reacting to it, talking about it. I did find myself getting to the point where I did actually have to go back to the actual films to grab some screenshots because some of this stuff was hard to find.
Oh, Davina Duckworth, hello.
And thank you, Nate. We were talking about that on Saturday. So yeah, C-3POs did have a Luke Skywalker mask, as well as Darth Vader. So this segment kind of made me realize how many of the characters that didn't really seem all that important, didn't make a lot of sense, were indirectly working for Mr. C throughout the past 30 years.
I mean, the fact that Dougie Milford fits in the way he does.
I know that boggled my mind.
Yeah,
but it makes sense now that, especially when you think about it. She makes a reference later on to things in Lovecraftian, and I have to say, I honestly wonder if some of the crazy weirdness of some of the characters is literally drawing from the madness of the Lovecraftian mythos. The more you become aware of these supernatural elements, the more it warps your brain. And you also realize there's a lot of ancillary characters, their relationships, their bad rashes, and their drug addictions that are probably the fallout of the drug organization that Mr. C set up. Yeah, it came to a very interesting realization about who Zhao Day is. It did make me think that there could be a great crossover between Twin Peaks and Ghostbusters.
Huh.
And therein is the is the file that I shared in the group on MeWe. Deleted Scenes and I were talking about that. If you want to take a look at it, it's like a map of the United States, and it shows all the different portals and when they're accessed during the course of the series.
No, I think we should take a step forward. Take a step back. Take a step forward. And we're dancing.
What was that, Deleted Scenes?
No, I was just. Never mind. He was being silly.
Makes sense.
Maybe.
Exactly. This, I have a little trouble buying that she makes this leap. We know it as an audience. It seems like a little bit of a cheat for Mark Frost to have her guess
Right.
that Bob was piggybacking on Mr. C. But whatever. Kind of, yes.
Mm.
Ziggy Stardust.
Goblin King.
Right.
Man, it fell to earth.
They all kind of fit when you think about it.
Nikola Tesla.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. He blinked.
Mm.
Pulp science fiction is the way that Lovecraft's mythos was originally published. Yeah, it always does.
Mm.
Judy. It's another recurring theme is people having difficulty remembering certain events.
Ew.
Herman Boja. Kind of like a gatekeeper and a keymaster.
Right. Ask me that question again in a couple of months.
Right. I was also very confused until I read this, who Ray Monroe was and how he fit into all of this. I know he basically explains it to Mr. C, but it didn't all click for me until this. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Mark Van was that Mark who put that in there? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Maybe. This Brave Little Toaster remake is weird.
That movie needs a remaster.
How do you shoot the Goblin King in the back? What happens
Yeah.
if you miss?
Well, I do think that Jeffrey's time traveling is probably the most complicated of storylines. Everyone else is more or less linear, whether it means jumping ahead by a couple decades or that's really most of the time traveling we see. Jeffrey's is the only one that we see going back in time. And then he helps Cooper to go back in time. I guess I wasn't so far off when I mentioned the Major and the Stargates. Different kind of.
Spending all our lives living in a sportsman's paradise.
Also, this Dutchman's Lodge got me thinking of a show called Lost Room, a mini series that was on the Sci-Fi Channel. Yeah, that's what I had assumed too. I'm giving you the information and throwing out some spitballs. That's what I was talking about. That seems like Mark Frost going, I don't know what that was about either. by the way, there's a pictograph that I found online. Somebody mapped out Cooper's walk, down that corridor to the Dutchman to see Jeffries, and how it's a different path than the one that Mr. C took. Very weird.
Because I've heard
Thanks, Gordon.
this part when Troy was going through and putting this together. I'm like, rerun?
Yeah. I love that line. Anything they attribute to Albert is a good line. Hey, Woods presents. We're coming to the very end of the Final Dossier. If you want to listen along, link is up top.
I love the milk.
Put a lot of detail into that particular graph. Yeah, sorry about that, Darkwoods. But we're here every week. Usually, we might take a break.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Nobody like that around here, mister.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here you go.
I love how you insert all those different pictures and like that.
Took a lot of imagination and a lot of work to find them. So the force sensitive ones is my guess.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he did he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of makes you wonder which timeline Sarah is in throughout the show, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. To say I'd rather be in Philadelphia than here is saying a lot. I couldn't think of any visuals for this last chapter. This is just her narration and breakdown. And maybe that's what happened to Jeffries.
Hmm.
He got past his fear. He didn't look away, and he ended up somewhere, everywhere. It's called Twin Peaks. Well, I figured I could help with the one answer I could give. Mark and Nate, I'll get to your comments after credits. Annie Wershing was diagnosed with cancer in 2020 and passed the cause adenoid cystic sarcoma. January 29th, 2023. She was 45 years old.
Wow. That's too bad.
I had a rough time doing those closing credits.
That's awful.
Yeah, and it made me think, and I said this to Netter too. I'm like, I'm starting to feel like there's a curse on Twin Peaks, but then as we were talking it through, she pointed out that most of the people died, from the exact ailments you'd expect from age, right? I mean, yes, most of them were cancer, but with the exception of Annie Wershing, 45 is way too young. The rest of them, smokers all their lives and such, some of those you kind of expect. And then she started listing all the people who are still with us. I'm like, yeah. You make a good point. But you talk about a series from 30 years ago, the older people in it you would expect would have would pass by now, and most of the younger ones are still with us. So thank you very much, Mark. Thank you, Curtis. Yeah, so going back to, right, too young. So starting with what Mark was saying, what disturbs me about Laura is my stepfather has dementia, and my sister went to see him. He not only didn't recognize her, but he called her Laura. Yeah, that's pretty wild. That I was telling Netter how strange this was. I wanted to. The first thing I thought of with Laura's missing, I'm like, milk carton. That was big in the 80s, right? Late 80s, early 90s.
I remember. Kids
and
on the milk carton.
And then the first one that I pulled up online when I pulled up, missing kids milk carton, the one that I saw like a bunch of times was a girl named Laura, blonde hair and blue eyes. So I'm like, okay, yeah, this is the one we're using, and I'm editing it. I actually took the time to edit it to figure out what would the area code be in Twin Peaks. So I put the right area code on, the last 4 digits being the number that was originally on the milk carton, because I was like, well, we should kind of honor the concept behind that. I got her birth date correct. I got her, the date she went missing correct. Went missing from where? Sparkwood and 21. So, but did you notice the picture that I used? Let me real quick. I didn't even think about this till just now, so I wasn't really prepared. Let me share this. Present, share screen, entire screen here. Don't need my sound. Do you recognize that picture?
I don't.
Look at that picture. That is not the famous picture of Laura.
She's not happy there.
She's not smiling.
She looks very sad.
And she is looking directly into the camera.
Interesting.
This picture creeps me the hell out. And I don't know where it comes from. I know that there is an alternate image of that picture that was used in Fire Walk with Me. It's kind of she's more looking to the right with a bigger smile on her face. Yeah, Mona Laura. I like that JPRPH one. But I didn't know what to make of this when I found it. So this was the one that I used for the milk carton. It's her tulpa. Yeah, exactly, Nate. And I said to Netter, I'm like, I'm not sure if what creeps me out is that she's making direct eye contact with the viewer and not smiling. And it's not the picture you expect to see. It's just a different shot of it. Or I wonder if this is actually generated by someone using AI. Have you seen those motion AIs that they do where they take a photograph, say of the Mona Lisa, for example, and it shows them her smiling and blinking and kind of turning her head? I was wondering if maybe someone did that with this. And the reason I wonder that, does this allow me to? Yes, because I also found this one online. And this is yet another image of the same Laura picture. But again, it's not the famous one from the portrait, and it's not the portrait from Fire Walk with Me. This is altogether different. So I don't know. Just made me wonder. But that one just, wow.
It weirds you out, huh?
It weirded me out, but I was like, yeah, I definitely got to use that. Then going back to what Nate was saying, so why does Tammy still know that Laura was murdered, even though Cooper saved her from that fate? Well, she kind of gets into the answer herself there, right? When she talks about going back and saying, I'm not going crazy. This is what I remember. Going back and looking at the, the microfiche and whatnot, seeing that it was different, saying, now we got to check, Cooper's tapes, see if they're different. She asked the people in the town, and she said she got this blank look, like they couldn't quite remember. And it took them a minute to say, yeah, that sounds right. That's how I remember it. So it definitely sounds like she's not the only one that isn't clear on the memory of what happened and what didn't happen. But see, because I went to the picture, I wasn't looking at Cosme. Let's see, what did you share, Toby? Life expectancy of the world population in 1800s, 1950s, and 2012. Okay, yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, things definitely change. But so it definitely seems like it's not one of those situations where first you don't literally have the creation of an alternate universe, an alternate timeline, right? This is definitely like Back to the Future, where you change something and that change reverberates into the future and it changes things as it goes. And the people affected, their memory gets kind of, I don't remember it. I would say, I wonder if Mark Frost had in mind the whole concept of the Mandela effect. Okay. Like something changed. This is how I remember it, but this is how it is. And some people remember it differently. That could be that kind of a thing. The other one that I've seen, one other model of time travel that I've seen, saw it in Doctor Who, saw it in Voyagers, a number of others. The idea that the time traveler always remembers the previous incarnation, even if nobody else does. They carry the memory of the original timeline as well as the new timeline. But maybe, like I guess you would make the argument, if you were a traveler in the TARDIS, you would be, protected from the changes outside the TARDIS, right? Maybe people near these vortices, people in Twin Peaks, people in, wherever, will end up having multiple memories because of it, but it's going to be fuzzy. It's going to be one overlapping the other. So you brought up, you wonder if Sarah that we see in the return is Sarah in the altered timeline or in the original time. And that's a great question. And it honestly could be either way, right? Because if you start doing the whole, and we started doing this in that last episode, and Nate was talking about this a lot. Maybe Cooper changing the past puts everyone in the present in a kind of temporal deja vu. Yes, that's kind of what I was getting at with that whole concept of the Mandela effect, right? But it does have the ring of another Doctor Who concept that time is like a river, and you could throw a boulder into the river, but downstream it's not going to make much of a difference. It's always going to kind of converge back the way it is. You make a little ripple here, but downstream it's all going to even out, right? And look at what you see happen with Leland, right? You know, a year after Laura's death, he takes himself out, right? In both timelines, right? So effective, and Laura's effectively dead. She's not dead, she's just missing, but that just means they don't have a body, right? She's as dead as the Major was, right? Yes, you could say he faked his death and then disappeared into the time stream or whatever, but for all intents and purposes, he was dead, and everyone behaved as though he was dead because he was gone from our world, which is exactly what death is. So for history, you know, Laura basically died, and it was just a minor difference that it was missing rather than dead, and you don't have the closure, so to speak. But you also have the same investigation. You still have Cooper coming to town to help with the missing aspect and so forth. Now, the temptation, and this is probably what you do for the next 30 years now, until we get another Twin Peaks, you know, series, is, you know, start picking apart, well, what happened to each individual character that we knew from the original series when these things change? What happens to Bobby? Well, Bobby's future probably doesn't change significantly. I would say that Shelley's history doesn't change that much. Leo's doesn't change. Now we get to the question about who shot Leo, right? It's implied, at least, excuse me, Tammy seems to imply her theory is that it was, what's his name? The other agent. Wyndham Earle.
Yes.
Because why? Because of the way he stood and you know, the grouping and so forth. But it could just as easily have been, although the time, you know, the timeline is difficult. Nate pointed out the problems with Wyndham Earle being the one. When would he have done it? The other possibility is it's Mr. C. But then same timeline problem. He's just getting there in the morning, goes right to the Great Northern. From the Great Northern, he goes to the hospital. When would he have had a chance? I will say this, however, time travel is in play. So there's always someone that wasn't available at the time in their linear timeline could always go forward or backward in time to take out Leo Johnson. But there is, of course, another possibility. What if it's Shelley or Bobby that shot Leo? They get there, they find him, and they go, oh, screw this, just die. You know, let's be done with him. It's a possibility, too. Either way, would that same storyline have taken place if Laura didn't die? Well, Dale still came to Twin Peaks, which might still bring Wyndham Earle. Wyndham Earle was still interested in accessing the lodges, just like Mr. C was. So again, do all of these storylines still play out the same? I think maybe they do. They even talked about how Jacques Renault and Leo Johnson were, you know, investigated the exact same way they were before. So I think there's a lot of there's a lot of evidence that a lot of things continue along the same vein. Anyway, maybe Coop changing the past put everyone in. Oh yeah, I read that one already. Yes, I am definitely a Whovian Toby, I at least up to the Timeless Child. That's where I step out and I'm done. And as far as I'm concerned, Doctor Who continuity ends with Capaldi. He's the last Doctor. Troy, using your logic, when all the astronauts and the people on the space station are dead because they're not on this world. No. That's not what I mean. When I say this world, I mean this timeline, this universe, not physically in contact with the Earth. I mean, although they are untethered from time. I mean, if you really want to get into, Einsteinian relativistic time displacement, if you are in orbit around the Earth, time travels slightly slower for you than it does for everyone here. We're aging faster than the people on the International Space Station.
We are?
Yeah. It's that whole twins paradox. If you have a twin on Earth and his identical twin gets into a spaceship, takes off and flies away at approaching the speed of light, by the time he gets back, depending on how long, there's calculations for it, the twin that stayed on Earth is an old man, and he's pretty much the same age.
Interesting.
And that they've proven that experimentally with atomic clocks taken up by astronauts into orbit. They seem to have lost time, even though obviously they can't, because that's not how atomic clocks work anyway. Darkwood Presents says, you know what, Troy? I agree. Doctor Who just went down the yeah. We've talked about that on other streams a number of times. But I have the entire run of Doctor Who up to Capaldi on DVD, including restorations of the lost episodes. So I am good. Own physical media. So what questions do we still have outstanding? I think that we got a lot of good answers for a lot of things. One thing I want to point out, a theory that I have. I mentioned it a little bit during the stream. So we have the White Sands testing, right? Which releases the experiment. We assume that that's Judy. From Judy spews forth all of these, dark entities, including one that was Bob, right? This prompts the firemen to create the opposite of Bob, some kind of a light version that, looks like Laura, right? One of the little eggs, or whatever you want to call it, from the White Sands experiment lands, hatches some sort of a frog moth kind of thing that crawls into Sarah's mouth. And we don't know what happens with it, right? But then in this, post Laura, post Leland's deaths, Sarah, goes through the alcoholism, the isolation, the depression, and then she's like taking her face off and taking a bite out of people's necks and stuff, right?
Yeah, there's that.
Meanwhile, for most of his life, Leland is possessed by Bob, right? I hate when things crawl in my mouth. Yeah, exactly. So here's my thought. What if, okay, starting with Leland, which we know. Leland was possessed by Bob, right? And Bob was an entity that came into our world, after the Trinity test. And it does also seem like Sarah was too. But she's not possessed by Bob. She's possessed by a frog moth. What if that frog moth was carrying Judy? What if Judy... Real quick, I want to say hi to The View with Drew, who just popped in here. How you doing, my friend? Judy, being, this Mesopotamian goddess, right? The alternate to Beelzebub, Bob. See where I'm going with this? What if Bob literally is Beelzebub? And his wife is, and possibly mother, depending on how you look at it, is Jaude. I wasn't even really joking when I said, what if this is a keymaster and gatekeeper prospect here? The ironic thing, though, is that they're inhabiting a husband and wife who have a daughter, Laura. So if Baal and Jaude are supposed to be bringing about the apocalypse, does that mean Laura is the instrument of the apocalypse? Well, maybe not, because the fireman is trying to counteract that by putting this positive heavenly spirit into Laura, right? I'm doing the same thing that Tammy did. I'm just throwing out ideas here.
Okay.
Spitballing stuff. You guys tell me what you think.
I don't know. We didn't get to find out what happened to the kid with the rubber glove.
Yeah, see, I had a question about that too. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter for the most part.
Yeah, but what did he do after he I guess destroyed Bob? Did he just go and I don't know.
Yeah, did he get his life back?
Well, does he go on to continue to be One Punch Man? Is he one of the two superheroes in the world?
Can I explain something to you? He is not One Punch Man. It took 3 punches to take out Bob. One Punch Man would have done it in 1.
Well, that's true, but he's Bob. Bob is,
It doesn't matter.
Okay. I don't know anything about One Punch Man. I just know that every other person that he punched, it only took 1 punch.
Yes, but One Punch Man has gone up against some horrible things in his in that Japanese cartoon. I'm just saying. But again, I mean, 3 punches is good to take out Bob. Yeah. I'm not trying to slouch it. I'm just saying Punch Man would have done it in 1. Not that we'd have a crossover between the two, but
right, exactly. But he continued in production of the Nutcracker every Christmas. Yeah, funny. Exactly. I mean, I speculated that what if now he was able to remove the glove? The purpose for it was over. He was able to take it off. But then again, like I also said, maybe there's the possibility that it doesn't come off and he just remains One Punch Man for the rest of his life.
And he works in demolition.
Well, that might be that might be a good thing, But 3 hits can knock people out unless they are drunk, drugged, or crazy. Yeah, that's true.
You think Bob's crazy?
But I do feel like we got a lot of explanation there in the Final Dossier. I think that a lot of things, if nothing else, I think it brought up a lot of story elements that I either glossed over or didn't attend to enough. And it was like Mark Frost kind of saying, hey, remember this, and putting a line under it. And I'm going, no, I didn't remember that. Okay, that helps. Oh, that's who that character is and how he relates to all the rest of this. Okay, I guess he wasn't completely pointless, stuff like that.
Was Laura's mom ever investigated for that trucker? Was there an investigation? Or
well, Tammy said
let's leave it unsolved. That's what the police said.
Tammy said that she was questioned,
yeah,
but they didn't have any evidence to hold against her. Unless they get some evidence, just the fact that you were sitting next to somebody
who lost their face.
Yeah, well, neck.
This reminds me of a. So, all right, go ahead. Okay.
I was just going to say, remember that we as an audience saw her literally go in, bite his neck open, and kill him. But nobody there in the bar actually saw what we saw. And it's not like she's got blood all over her mouth. That's evidence. That's the weird thing, right?
Yeah.
There's no physical evidence that it happened, so there's nothing the police could use against her. It's just, hey, I saw her have an argument with this guy, and she was sitting next to him. Well, did you see her bite his neck open? No, I didn't. Well, I don't see any evidence that she did it, and if she did, wouldn't there be blood all over her face?
Yeah.
So she gets away with it.
There was a line in This Is Spinal Tap where one of their drummers had died choking on vomit, but it was determined that it was somebody else's vomit. and they said the Scotland Yard said, they don't have the facilities. They said best just leave it unsolved. That was their determination.
Oh God!
It's a funny movie. It's listening to these guys with the transatlantic accents.
Oh my gosh!
It's a lot of their drummers always died in horrible ways, mysterious horrible ways, and that one died by choking on someone else's vomit.
You can't dust for vomit. No,
yeah, that's what they said. You can't dust for vomit. That's what the one guy said.
Oh God! Oh,
I'm just thinking that's what the police probably thought. Let's just leave this unsolved. No one cares that he's dead. Let's just move on.
And then there was Stumpy Joe.
And
what happened to Stumpy Joe? Well, he he also died in some rather mysterious circumstances. Apparently, it was some sort of gardening accident, which the police also decided to leave unsolved.
I remember that. It's like, one of their drummers had, what was it? What do they call that? Self-immolation, where you burn up inside.
You spontaneously
combusted.
Yeah, one of their drummers spontaneously combusted. It's just...
and so the guy who's the current drummer says, well, I'll be fine. I mean, the law of averages says I will survive.
Yes, that was funny.
Yes.
It's I don't know, but I'm just thinking that's what the police were thinking with the guy with the truck U shirt. He was basically saying, let's just leave this unsolved. We're not going to get anywhere.
Right. So maybe the other thing we should talk through is where do we go from here? And don't start singing.
Damn it.
I have a question. Question.
Which is
maybe
way that's clear.
I have a question. Sorry. Cooper, in the beginning of the last episode, him and Diane are driving through something to get to the place where I guess the timeline is now changed, unless I was mistaken and read that entirely wrong. So does that mean the other Twin Peaks world where Laura died and all that still exists, or did it get erased?
I think it's very much open to interpretation. I think a lot of it seems to me, I still insist that there's an element of this where I feel like Lynch is saying the world of Twin Peaks is just a dream. And you can wake up from it. And when you do, huh?
Okay, so the world we were watching all this time is the dream, and he goes into the real world. Is that what I'm seeing?
That's one possible interpretation. Now, the fact that he's still trying to, despite the fact that he's got another identity and, everyone he meets has a different name and so on and so forth. He still seems to be living his dream reality, which in the real world, we call that crazy, right? This is somebody who's got a dissociative disorder. They believe they are someone else. They believe other people are someone else, and so on and so forth. Because as far as time travel on its own goes, I think the time travel element is within the world of Twin Peaks. You have two diverging timelines, one where Laura dies, one where she doesn't. They're very parallel to each other. Not a lot changes there. And people have fuzzy memories about which is which. You don't create a new universe there. In other words, Carrie Page is not, didn't grow up in the Twin Peaks that Laura Palmer did, right? She's a completely different person.
Right.
But how that all plays out, I don't know. I do think it's David Lynch implying there is a real world where the filming sites exist, because Laura's house exists as a filming site. Now, someone else owns it, and she actually appeared in the show as the person who owns the house. The Double R Diner does exist in Snoqualmie, Washington. You can go there. You can have a piece of cherry pie. But the real world is a different one from Twin Peaks itself. But again, I'm just throwing out different interpretations. That doesn't mean any one of them is the absolute right one, or that it's the same thing that Lynch intended or Mark Frost intended. Yeah, we're definitely going to have a Spinal Tap watch party, if for no other reason than I have not seen it yet. Everyone start beating me up about it.
You could double it up with A Mighty Wind. They would go together.
I don't want to watch A Mighty Wind.
Have you seen it?
I don't like folk music.
It's something. It's you know what? We'll have this discussion another time.
Yeah.
It's making fun of it, if that helps.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, but
maybe.
Like everything in there is like a mock of something. Like Sonny and Cher is being mocked. So is like the new Christy Minstrels. It's like all this. Oh, never mind.
It's interesting. Yeah, maybe. Okay, you almost got me convinced. We'll talk about it later.
We'll figure it. We'll think about it. Yes.
So, Deleted, where do we go from here with the stream?
So basically, what's next week?
Really have no idea.
Yeah.
Lost Highway.
We go from here.
Lost Highway.
We will get there. So
I think we can do Lost Highway. Yeah.
Here's what's on the docket, right? We still got to check out Lost Highway. We are going to have to do a watch party of Mulholland Drive. Mm-hmm. But we also need to watch, and this will probably have to be multiple weeks, the fan film Queen of Hearts, mm-hmm. which also touches on a lot of these story elements that I'm talking about and kind of picks up from the end of The Return.
I would like to do Inland Empire. Yeah.
And I want to do something with the and it might involve me having to go back and reread the Secret History of Twin Peaks. Now, that's a much thicker read than the Final Dossier. Final Dossier in audio form was 3 hours, whereas the Secret History is closer to 10 hours. I will not be able to do what I did for the Final Dossier with 10 hours of
not if he wants to remain married.
Yeah, it just, this was 3 weeks dedicated almost entirely to that. Shush, strong wind. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So is that the Klingon word for fart?
Yeah, if it's strong enough, sure. So maybe I go back and reread it and put together a summary, put together notes. I could do that. The other option is, and this is almost as bad, it would literally be 10 weeks of us playing the audio in the same format. I just don't put together any kind of a visual with it. It's a more dynamic audio because all of the actors from the show come back and reprise their roles. So, but that would be 10 weeks of streams. I'm kind of thinking maybe we put the Secret History of Twin Peaks aside and just decide what the next couple things is going to be.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, JPRPH want to say maybe this summarized thing is a good idea. But even for me to put a summary together, I'd need some time to go back and reread it, which I'm probably going to be doing anyway. So, but I would need the time to do that. So I'd say move on to something else for a little while. Darkwoods, right after this, I'm going to be doing the next episode of Blake 7. And we are coming very close to the end of season 4 of Blake 7, the first season of Blake 7. After the 4 seasons of Blake 7, I may turn it into a Doctor Who stream.
I thought we were going to do Red Dwarf.
Oh, maybe Red Dwarf. We'll see.
Or tripods. I'm kidding. I'm just throwing.
I never saw the 3rd season of Tripods. That would probably be a good idea too. Actually,
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah,
I would go with Red Dwarf. I think Red Dwarf goes with Blake 7 because they have a similar sounding names in some ways. I'm just saying, right?
Blake 7, Red Dwarf. Okay, yeah. Or do you want to take a break? Deleted scenes, because I know you've got other things going on too.
Yeah, I think it might be best this time around to maybe, take a break.
You want to kick it up in the new year? Maybe we'll figure it out then.
And then,
do you want to take the month off then? I mean, is that how long a break you want to take?
However long you need.
Well, we can discuss. I don't know if I want to take like the whole month. I mean, I'm just trying to plan out next week.
You're just trying to plan out next week. Okay.
Are we meeting next week, or did you want to take next week off? That's my question.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're taking next week off.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take next week off because Troy guys, Troy has put aside shows that he had planned.
Yeah,
to get this presentation done, and I not only do I think he deserves a round of applause for that, but
yeah,
there we go. But also maybe some time off where he doesn't have to think about Twin Peaks for a bit.
Yeah. I like JPR Peach one says, start the whole thing over again. And at first I start to laugh, and then I start thinking, that's not a horrible idea. I mean, watching Twin Peaks over again from the beginning, knowing what you know now, could be a very different experience. But before we get to that point, we have a lot of other material that we can still look at first.
There's nothing else like Twin Peaks, though. That's the problem.
But like I said, things like Mulholland Drive, Inland Empire, Lost Highway, these are all, even Blue Velvet. These are all things that either one could argue are actually taking place within the shared universe of Twin Peaks, or at least have enough of the same connective tissue that it casts a shadow on and highlights certain things about Twin Peaks. It's helpful to the discussion of understanding Twin Peaks. Troy's brain could very easily go the way of the people that have been exposed to Lovecraftian mythos. I fail my sanity check and I completely lose it, and I turn into Wyndham Earl or something like that.
Yeah, you all haven't had to sit here and listen to him try and put this thing together.
Yeah.
The straight story. Interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
That's a good one.
Definitely taking off next week, and if we decide to come back the following week, you guys need to be subscribed to us and hit that notification bell. And yes, I know that the notification bell isn't always foolproof, but I will certainly try to make sure I get something out on our on the what's it called, the community tab, to give you a heads up when it's coming up and stuff like that. But so yeah.
All right. Well, let's go one more time around the horn. Boomer, what do you have coming up?
Let's see. This Friday, I will be on Last Call with Troy Pacelli, and then on that's at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then this coming Sunday, I will be on Geeky Geezers with myself and Troy Pacelli here, and that'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Did I say Friday Last Call? I meant to say 10 p.m. Didn't I? Okay, wait, whatever. And then Monday I'll be joining Troy for a double feature. Monday Night at the Movies. We're going to be doing a Liam Neeson actioner called Run All Night, along with Reindeer Games with Ben Affleck. Right? Yes.
Yep.
And Gary Sinise is in that too. That's right. And Charlize Theron. Yep, and that'll be it for me for the near future.
Netter.
I'm everywhere. Right after this show, we will be, or I'll be on guesting with Troy on his channel. Well, actually, simulcasting on mine for Blake 7. Let's see, and then today's Tuesday, so Wednesday. So Wednesday, we're not doing anything. Thursday, I actually have a guest. I didn't originally have a guest, but I do now. And that will be Fletcher Williams. I suck at games, but he has a new channel. So right now I still have the whatever icon up for Thursday, but they'll be changing to Fletcher Williams' new channel on there. And and then let's see, Friday I'll be co-hosting on Last Call with Troy, because that's what I'm calling it now. Last call of Troy. Saturday. Oh, we're back over on my channel. It's like, gosh, it's been so busy. For Ever After. And then after that, right back here next Tuesday, if we do anything. Here, no, we're not. So Blake 7 on Troy's channel.
Yep.
All right, Troy.
Yeah. So right after this, episode 12 of season 1 of Blake 7, Deliverance. I say right after this because you will, if you stay in the chat, you will be shot over there. And we'll get going in now. I don't know, about 10, 15 minutes or so. All the things that they mentioned. Definitely looking forward to Friday. Last call, just in case Boomer was off on the times, because he confused me the way he said it too.
Yes.
9 Central, 10 Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be going back to the 80s. We're going to do a little bit of, what was so great about the 80s. We're going to share a little bit about the 80s. Maybe even dispel a couple myths about the 80s for some of you youngsters that think it was all, just neon colors and, rolled up jacket sleeves and weird pants,
Yes.
It was those things. Don't be mistaken.
You're gonna try. This probably happens with all these decades where you have people who are nostalgic for them that didn't live in them. Their impression of them versus how it was.
True.
But it's going to be about what made the 80s great. I think that's the main crux of the stream. I think should be
So there you go. And then I'll be on the Saturday thing with Netter. I'll be on Geeky Geezers with this geezer here. And Monday for the double feature, starting at 8 Central, 9 Eastern with, what was it? Run Like Hell, Run All Night?
Run All Night.
Run All Night. That's what it was.
Run, Forrest, run.
There you go.
No, it's Liam Neeson Liam Neeson running,
And that brings us around to next Tuesday when we will have the final episode of Blake 7 season. The episode is called Orak. It is one of the best episodes.
All right. That brings it on over to me. I will be the guest tomorrow night on Pop Talk over on Pacific 414's channel. That'll be at 6 p.m. Eastern. I will be joining Outlaw Bill for Action Theater Thursday at 3:30 for Falling Down. I will be joining Big Al Presents for Films with Friends, and we are going to be watching the original 1951 The Thing. That'll be at 8. And then, let's see. Next Tuesday, 7 p.m. For the Mystery Movie Night podcast, featuring myself along with Sin's Corner, Off the Cover, and hopefully the by then recovered Kyle Corwith. And special shout out to Kyle. Couldn't join us tonight because he had a he had a medical issue overnight after the movie where he kind of sustained a back injury. But hopefully he will. Nothing that hospitalized him or anything, but he's going to recover from that and hopefully join us next week. All right. So rejoin us here in 2 weeks as we watch every episode in one day. No. No. We won't be doing that. No. We mustn't. Oh, maybe we should. No, maybe we won't. Why?
I don't know. It might be interesting.
I get a little crazy. Okay.
Might be interesting to do it.
Sorry. Okay, I'm being silly.
Might be interesting to talk about how Twin Peaks had a big impact on Japan. That might be an idea for an episode.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, the Japan angle I don't know about, but or if I did, I don't remember. Anyway, all right. So, but it's an idea. It's an idea. All right, folks. Well, I want to thank, of course, my fellow panelists here. I want to thank everyone who joined us on X. I can't see you, but I know that you're there. And of course, everyone who joined us in the live chat. Netter, your closing words, please.
Well, y'all know what I always say. We can talk amongst ourselves, and that's all well good and fun. But it's so much more fun when you guys are joining us in the chat. And you're dropping the comments, questions, trivia, being goofy, whatever it may be. And it doesn't feel like we're separated by miles or continents in some cases. It feels like we're all hanging out in the same room, enjoying each other's company and having a great time. And you guys, you know you're not just our friends. You are our family. We love you guys and we appreciate you so very much. I want to thank y'all for the many ways that you encourage us, not just us on the panel, but those in the chat as well. And for the many ways that you support us. We don't do this for us, we do this for you. And your support means a lot to us. Because, like I said, this wouldn't be so much fun if you guys weren't joining us. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for all that you do. We will see you at Blake 7 in just a few minutes. Just stay put here. You'll be redirected. But until then, good night and God bless.
Once again, thank you all for watching. From HQ and all points north, south, east, west, but especially the corner of Sparkwood and 21. Good night. Take care. Stay strong. Don't be a snowman. I'm turning into one here in my igloo. Because this is how we win.